Dial. This is what talk radio is supposed to sound like with your hosts Dave Carney and Chad Forster. This is Live in Las Vegas.
Yeah, that's right. Welcome to Live in Las Vegas. I'm Dave. He's Chad. Thanks for sticking with us here and enjoying a nice meaty hour of Pawn Talk Live, where we served up dishes and dishes of goodness there. Michael, of course, joined us, and that was great to have him back in studio. Been gone getting hitched, and now he's wearing that old platinum wedding ring. That thing just like weighs down his hand, though. It's like it can't even move.
I have to say, you know what, though? He seems really, really happy. I know you're not necessarily the biggest fan of marriage, but he seems like a really, really happy guy, and he was nice enough to show us and share with us this really cool video that they actually played before the wedding. Wow, it was kind of touching, to be honest with you.
No, it was. It
almost made me feel like, wow, I feel lonely. Maybe I need to get married, and then I came to my senses.
It made me feel lonely too. Okay, and that's what it is. Listen, and when I first saw that movie, 4 Weddings and a Funeral, I thought, well, that's like 5 of the same thing. I mean, what's the movie here?
Wow, listen to this guy.
However, he does look like he's extremely happy and enjoying himself, and his wife is lovely. But again, guys, we got a great show here for you today on Live in Las Vegas. Obviously, Chad, a couple of big news stories seem to be popping up every single day, and we like to digest those in our live news, which we'll get to in a bit. Got a bunch of sports stories kind of popping up. I mean, NFL training camps opening up around the league, so all 32 teams are now in action in training camp, so we'll talk about some of the stories going on from around there. Also, Major League Baseball Hall of Fame induction this weekend.
Yeah, Greg Maddux, our own Greg Maddux, getting in the Hall of Fame with his buddy, of course, Tom Glavine, Frank Thomas, the big hurt, getting in, Bobby Cox, Joe Torre, and Tony La Russa. And I was reading this article where all 6 of these guys, at some point, were in the Atlanta Braves organization.
Yeah.
Which is pretty remarkable if you think about it.
Ted Turner buys out everybody that he wants, anything that he wants. And yeah, I mean, the Braves organization, you look back through their years, I mean, really one of the most remarkable organizations that doesn't have like 12 World Series locked up. I mean, they've got a couple, but it's not as many as you would think that they would have. Of course, Las Vegas's own Greg Maddux going in. The Maddux brothers really set, I think, Chad, the stage for today's Vegas baseball boon, which is really happening. I mean, 2 of the last 3 number 1 draft picks have come from Las Vegas. I mean, it's really become the hotbed of prospects from around the country.
Yeah, and Bryce Harper obviously recently highlighting that list. I thought the interesting thing, and this kind of came out in January, that Greg Maddux isn't going in as a Brave, and he's not going in as a Cub, and he's not really going in as anything as far as a team representation. And so is Tony La Russa. Tony La Russa is the same thing. Obviously, they play with multiple different teams, and, like with Maddux, I was reading this article, he's like, in 82, I went to Chicago, and my heart kind of belongs to that, but obviously all the time with the Braves and all those kinds of things, and it's hard for him to make the decision, but kind of interesting when you see his plaque in Cooperstown. Yeah. It won't have a team designated to it, and neither will Tony La Russa.
I know, that's just crazy. He's a Brave. I mean, let's get real here. I mean,
that's kind of what I think.
The Chicago Cubs are awful. I mean, people love the Cubs, but
his heart belongs to Chicago, according to what he says.
All right, that's good for him. I mean, enjoy another 100 years of non-winning baseball tradition. The Braves, on the other hand, he actually did stuff there. Now,
good point.
When I look at a guy like Tom Glavine, too, I always thought that he was underappreciated, and I won't go too far into sports right now. I always thought, though, that he was underappreciated next to Greg Maddux, because Greg Maddux, I think he just defied logic so much. He threw a 67-mile-an-hour fastball, and he was constantly getting people out,
He was just a position pitcher. I mean, this guy, he put the ball in the perfect position every single time. One other, real quick, and we'll get to it more in the Sports Carnival, but just real quick, because this just broke. Now, I don't know if you've heard this, Blake Griffin dropped out of USA Basketball. USA Basketball starting next week here in Las Vegas. John Wall taking his spot.
Fantastic. Hey, John Wall, the Washington Wizards, great year last year and poised for another one this year. But, Chad, I mean, this week, I mean, we've been here, all throughout the week watching just, tons of different things evolve around basically every border situation. I mean, from our own American border, which we're going to talk about in just a little bit, from central, Gazan Strip. I mean, you've got the Middle East, and then, of course, you've got Ukraine. I mean, what do you think is going on right now? Is there like a line around every border with a message above it saying, please attack, please attack?
Yeah, it's actually sponsored by Taco Bell, so make a run for the border.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's going on right now. I tell you what, it seems that way. It seems like it's orchestrated, but I just think it's just one plays on top of the other, and you have all of these groups, and this is groupthink. This goes back to groupthink, pitting one group against another, and this is where you get this conflict, when you really start to act and think like an individual, things start to change and stop acting as a group. That doesn't mean that you don't be communal, you don't help each other out and don't have similar ideas and try to move forward, but especially in these situations, it's one group against another. It's he said, she said. Like, especially in the Middle East, how is that? It's Hatfields and McCoys. That's never going to be solved.
Yeah, good point.
I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah, good. And it's probably,
I mean, completely. At least we can get the fighting stopped, but they're never going to be sitting down for Sunday brunch. It's just not going to happen.
No, I don't think that's, I don't think that's on the agenda anytime soon. And as a matter of fact, I mean, radio shock jock Howard Stern, one of his shows recently, too, was, going into a really, really hard stance defense here on Israel. And you can see how much this touches people, I mean, from all walks of life. But it is very politicized. Now, the other thing, though, that's been going on around the world, which is just a freaky coincidence to me, and I'm no aviation expert, so we're not going to really delve into the whys and the hows and the whats here, but I don't know that I want to step on an airplane anytime soon. And I know that some people might say that's cowardice, and I will say you're right. But the way that they've been dropping, Chad, it just doesn't seem like perhaps the safest thing to do right now.
Yeah, and of course the aviation, people have come out and said that it's safe to
nonsense.
fly now as it has been before. It just happens that this has been the worst week in aviation history, and it just all kind of piles on each other. But when you really look at the statistics, you're much safer traveling that way than just about every other way, including walking and riding bicycles.
Well, I know, and a large part of that goes to the fact that there's not many up in the air, so you don't get a bunch of traffic jams, you don't get a bunch of craziness.
But I feel you, though, and I think most people do. I think
scary.
People right now that are flying, especially people that don't fly a lot. People I think that fly every day, like a lot of business guys,
sure,
they don't even think twice about it. But people that fly, sporadically here and there, I'm sure they think before they get on a plane, it's only human nature. Oh my God, I hope this one doesn't go
Well,
down.
and it's funny because right before the most recent Malaysian plane, MH17, fell over in Ukraine, one of the passengers on board had done, something that I probably would have done just to get a laugh or a grin, took a picture of the plane and said, this is what it looks like in case it goes missing. And then a couple hours later, exactly. Yeah. I mean, a couple hours later, the plane's missing. And you just kind of think about that. It personalizes the situation so much because you see, oh, yeah, I would have done that. And oh, God, I mean, that really happened.
Well, and with all the horrific stuff that's gone on, there's some pretty cool stories that have happened as well in the Taiwanese plane that went down where 47 people lost their life. 10 of the people that popped out of it, one of them, this lady jumps out of the airplane. First thing she does is call her husband. I mean, there's some really interesting, harrowing stories as well. And, of course, we've seen multiple stories of the people that didn't get on the plane for whatever reason because they were late or got bumped or something happened. It's just like one of those things where you start to look at the whole destiny thing and is this fate? But, boy, I tell you what, if I was scheduled to be on a flight right now, I'd be a little apprehensive.
Yeah, no, listen, I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to call a town car, and I'm going to be like, I need to go from here to Colorado. I know it's going to take like 18 hours, but I'm going to go.
Well, you know why you're going to Colorado, by the way. You got to calm your nerves down and get some of that medicinal marijuana.
Wait, I mean, isn't it skiing season? Oh, wait.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
Not quite yet. But, guys, if you've got any comments, opinions, thoughts you'd like to throw out here, and we say this every day, Chad, but want to remind folks because it's not just on Fridays, but every single day, Monday through Friday here on Live in Las Vegas. We want to invite you to be part of our show. The number to reach us here in studio, 702-257-5396, 257 KDWN. As we go along, we talk about a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and we try to cover the big stuff. And if you've got thoughts on that, we want you to be a part of it.
It's like kind of like two guys doing Oprah. You're like Stedman, and I'm Dr. Phil. It's kind of like we want to hear your feelings and work through it.
Wow, and I don't think there's ever been two guys that have been happy for that. I didn't really know how to take that. Yeah, exactly.
You said, I'm Stedman? What? I don't think so.
Exactly. Now, if I got to live in Oprah's penthouse in Chicago, which I've seen, I might be okay with that.
That would probably be pretty decent. I would imagine that the giant screen TV with the Xbox 360 over at Oprah's house is probably bigger than yours.
Yes,
but just guessing.
But having to listen to Dr. Phil tell me about why that wasn't a good idea and, what I was running away from, be like, no, I'm running away from you. I can't get you off the TV,
You and your mustache. Get out of my face.
Exactly. And where did you get your doctorate from anyways? I still haven't figured this out. It was like Hollywood Upstairs Medical College or something like that. Yes,
is he really a doctor?
I don't know. I think I read on his bio once that he is a doctor because I had vociferously argued that he was not a real doctor. This was a hoax and something that he made up.
Or is he like Julius Erving? Where it's just like an honorary doctorate.
No, he's supposedly a real doctor. He got a degree from somewhere. Anyways, 2:14 here on a Friday afternoon. We're going to step aside, take our first look at traffic here on Live in Las Vegas. When we come back, your phone calls at 702-257-KDWN.
From the Kid on Nevada Credit Union Traffic Center, got a new incident on 95 northbound. That's the Tropicana on-ramp. Also, Flamingo northbound at the 15 interchange. 15 south at Charleston, you're backed up all the way past the Spaghetti Bowl there. And as you try to transition from 95 south to Interstate 15 southbound, that is a slow proposition. And on the Beltway, 215 northbound at Lone Mountain, a crash there slowing things down. For the Kid on Nevada Credit Union Traffic Center, I'm Jim Dallas on News Talk 720 KDWN.
Hi, this is Greg from Jersey Electric, the largest residential solar installer in Las Vegas. We're changing the name of our solar division and launching a new website, which means big offers and more savings for our customers. Call 877-43-SOLAR. That's 877-437-6527 to hear more about our pre-launch specials. We're giving away Kindle Fires along with Sign Today, Save Today event. Don't wait for your PV system to be installed on your roof. Start saving money the day you sign your contract with us. Call 877-43-SOLAR. That's 877-43-SOLAR to hear more about our pre-launch offers. Our PV systems and finance options are custom designed for you and your home, making it quick and easy to gain energy independence. Fix your energy costs today by purchasing a solar system and protect yourself against NV Energy's rising rates by creating cheaper, cleaner power on your roof. Call 877-43-SOLAR. That's 877-437-6527 for your free site survey today. Check out Jersey Electric reviews on Angie's List.
At RJL Wealth Management, we understand effective retirement planning can be complicated, but making a few decisions about Social Security benefits could have a real impact on your retirement. Do you have a strategy for how and when you'll take Social Security? More importantly, do you understand how Social Security benefits can be integrated with your other investments? At RJL Wealth Management, we believe the benefits should have a place and a purpose in your retirement plan. So before you file for Social Security, you need to understand all your options and learn how you can get the benefits you're entitled to. So call RJL Wealth Management for a complimentary consultation. They'll explain strategies to help you capitalize on Social Security benefits and where they fit in an effective retirement plan. How can Social Security really work to your benefit? Call 800-644-1150 for a complimentary consultation. 800-644-1150. 800-644-1150. Securities offered through Lucia Securities, LLC, member SIPC, and affiliate of RJL Wealth Management, LLC.
You hear a lot of talk about gold these days. What, with the stock market and more upheaval than tumbleweeds in a tornado? The world-famous Max Pawn is your gold spot in Las Vegas. Don't just send your gold into some random TV guy for pennies on the dollars. Go where you can see what your gold is really worth and get guaranteed market rate for your gold, silver, diamonds, and more. Come visit the world-famous Max Pawn in Las Vegas at the northeast corner of Sahara and Jones or online at maxpawnlv.com.
This summer, things are about to get interesting south of the border. 19th Century Coyote presents Gran Torino 2, Viva La Ford. Starring Clint Eastwood.
You feel lucky, well, do ya?
Punk and Mel Gibson as Federale Rodriguez.
Buenas tardes, señor.
And making his feature film debut, Donald Sterling is Mayor Whitehead.
You have to ask yourself, did you hear 5 shots or 6?
This film has not yet been rated.
And now, back to Live in Las Vegas with your hosts Dave Carney and Chad Forster.
And welcome back to Live in Las Vegas here on News Talk 720 KDWN, streaming worldwide, KDWN.com. I'm Dave, he's Chad. Thanks for carving out a little piece of your day, making us part of it. We want to go ahead and give away something here, Chad, because, this is the summertime is movie time. And we have got some special passes to go see the new James Brown biopic, Get On Up. And this is an exclusive invitation thing. Tickets you can only win here on Live in Las Vegas. The showtime will be Tuesday, July 29th at 7 o'clock. It's AMC Town Square, and that's Las Vegas Boulevard South. You know right where that is. You can go out to the Blue Martini or passably, grab another drink and go see a great flick here. So we've got passes to go see Get On Up. Chadwick Boseman, Nelson Ellis, Viola Davis. Really, really great cast. And I've seen a couple of these trailers here, Chad, on the television as well as on YouTube, and it looks like a fun movie.
I haven't even seen. This is the first time I've heard of it.
Really?
And this is pretty cool. So this is the director of The Help.
Yep.
putting on Get On Up, the James Brown story, and I always have been a huge James Brown fan. I always loved his style, his energy. He was unlike anybody else as far as performing goes.
You know what? Let me tell you what. James Brown would have been a big Ray Rice fan. And James Brown, though, is the hardest working man in show business. And I'm sure this biopic is going to be fantastic. So, again, July 29th, 7 o'clock, Town Square Theaters. The movie opens nationwide August 1st, so this is your chance to see the movie before anybody else. All you have to do is give us a call here today on the program, 702-257-5396.
I thought you were going to give away a pair of tickets to Gran Torino, too, but apparently those aren't in yet.
Not
yet. As soon as that comes, as soon as we get those tickets.
That's it. Well, we're going to give that away.
That sounds like a good movie.
It does. Donald Sterling's tied up in court right now in Southern California. He'll be back on set here very soon. Now, as we mentioned in our leadoff, a lot of big stories going on around the country. We're going to talk about them in about 15 minutes in what we call the live news.
And now, for an all-new look at stories from around the world and around the town, here's the live news.
All right, here we are, the live news. Chad and Dave, Friday afternoon. Shocking poll comes out, Chad. 1/3 of Americans say Barack Obama should be impeached. How surprised are you?
Well, let's see. According to CNN, even saying this international poll released today, 33% of Americans think the president should be impeached and removed from office. Wow, compared to 65% who say they don't support impeachment. It doesn't really surprise me. Obviously, with all the stuff that's going on around the world and in the United States specifically concerning the border, it doesn't surprise me one bit because that obviously motivates people politically, especially when somebody calls up on their phone and asks for a poll. They're going to be more likely to voice their opinion. So not too surprised, but this has to be pretty shocking to the president and his administration, I would think.
Well, you would think, but I don't know that after this, first 1.5 terms here that he could be too surprised, and it kind of falls in line with historical data, Chad. If you go over the last two presidents, George W. Bush back in 2006, about 30% of Americans polled said that George Bush should have been impeached. Back in 1998, 29% of Americans polled said Bill Clinton should be up for impeachment. So it looks like the 30% mark, or right around 1/3 of Americans, is typical at this stage of their presidency. And I think it just goes to show you, what we've been talking about a lot here on the show, that it's really not as much about, Democrat or Republican as you think. It's about bad governance. And the fact that once you get up to that level, you're really not playing to any crowd except for the money crowd that got you involved.
Well, and then, of course, this is related to this story. This came out in AP. The senior White House advisor, Dan Pfeiffer, good old Dan Pfeiffer, reports today that the GOP has already opened the door for impeachment, so they're already preparing themselves for the GOP to come after him. And then, obviously, with this poll, the GOP is going to try to play that up as much as they possibly can. Yeah. And it just really shows that the country is divided in multiple different ways, politically and otherwise. And obviously, with the border wide open, with what's going on in the Middle East and what's going on in Ukraine, people are very uneasy and unsure. And when they're uneasy and unsure, that's the time they look for, hey, maybe we can change this.
Yeah.
We just bring in the next savior, everything will be fine. Unfortunately, the next savior, we backed by the same 4 or 5 saviors that we've just had that did fail. That's the reality.
Well, it's the sad reality because, as we sit here and we talk about this, you and I are just regular average Joes like everybody else. Everybody that's listening to us here today on News Talk 720 KDWN, in the same boat. We're just regular average people. That doesn't mean that we don't know how to take care of our own lives and what good governance means. And I think that, Chad, as social media, the internet, television expanding to 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and talk radio is more readily available, the average Joe's a heck of a lot more educated than they were 20 years ago, especially about political maneuvering. And I firmly believe that it's become the time in American society where we're just calling BS on the whole thing. Nothing smells right anymore. It all is fishy. Nothing really jibes, and you can't really seem to find anybody that's going to give you the straight dope.
Yeah, after maligning robots yesterday, I do have to say technology does have an upside, and the upside is the availability of information. We basically have the Library of Alexandria at our fingertips 24/7, and if you're willing and able to do the work, you can find out a lot of the stuff on your own as opposed to always listening to mainstream and just shaking your head yes or no. Actually dig into it. Look into it yourself. Figure the stuff out on your own. And form your own opinion. I think that's the most important part is don't just believe what somebody else believes, but figure out what you believe.
Yeah, exactly.
And figure out what's best for your family.
Unless it's us, and believe everything that we say. No, I jest. And it really goes back, though, Chad, to something that you told me, a couple of years back, and similar to what you just mentioned here about, in a weekend now with the internet, you can really get about a 2-year college degree if you spent, an entire weekend, maybe let's call it 72 hours, so all of Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, just really dedicating yourself to studying different aspects of society, of history, of culture in general. You can find out more than you could have in years past. Now, that leads us to our next topic, because it's something that you had brought up a little bit earlier in the week. And again, a lot of this information readily available online. You find it all over at MSN, New York Times, Drudge Report. Refugee status being considered given now, Chad, to Hondurans. And you and I talked about this earlier in the week, and you mentioned this to me. You said step one is, we remove the illegal part from immigrants. So it's no longer illegal immigrants. We just start calling them immigrants at our border. The next step in that is calling them refugees, and that looks like that's where we're going right now.
Well, it used to be required reading that every child reads George Orwell's 1984, and I don't think that is the case anymore. But when you read that book, you understand what Orwellian means, and using and manipulating words, the ministry of love as opposed to the ministry of defense. And just by tweaking some words, they've realized that you can change the perception of something. So if you start calling them, instead of illegal immigrants, just calling them immigrants, it humanizes them more. And then, of course, when you call them refugees, it changes it completely and opens up the door to pretty much not only Honduras, because if it works for Honduras and they just bring kids in, then they'll go to Guatemala and every other Central American government and make deals, and these kids will come here just for free, go wherever they want. And you know what? The New York Post just put up a map of the United States, and it showed every single state and how many of these kids, these immigrants, have been shipped around. And every single state has at least one, and the last one was Montana. There's one child that has been shipped to Montana through all this stuff. And obviously, at some point, again, we need to sit down and figure this out, because the guys at the top are really leaning towards the whole North American Union situation, and that's really what we're looking at.
Yeah, and what do you mean by the North American Union situation if you're just tuning in here to Live in Las Vegas? Why are we throwing around these big words like North American Union? Chad's, of course, referring to, kind of the government's secret pact circling around NAFTA and a couple of the other things that were enacted in the late 90s to basically dissolve borders between the United States, Canada, and Mexico. And Chad, as we know, this isn't a humanitarian push, and I know that a lot of times they disguise it as such. This is a financial push. It's so that big business can ship and distribute jobs and companies to different places without certain restrictions that apply when you travel outside of your countries, tax restrictions, labor restrictions, and the like. This is really nothing more than a ploy to lower the wages for everybody, not just us here in America, but really in Canada and Mexico as well.
Well, when I read the white papers of this kind of stuff, and you look into the Securities and Prosperity Act along with NAFTA and GATT, that's what I read out of this, is that basically NAFTA and GATT opened up the door to take American businesses outside of the country for cheaper labor, and now they're just reversing that and instead just making our country poorer so that they can bring those same manufacturing jobs back at half the price, or a quarter of the price, the quarter of the wages. That's how I read this situation.
Well, and it's something that was echoed yesterday to me by a friend of the show here, a financial guy in town who said that a lot of the reasons that you would have both sides of the aisle, so big business Republicans and really liberal Democrats, both vying to bring in this horde of illegal immigration. There's a real thought behind a lot of these financial people anyways that say that this is to prop up the Social Security system, that by bringing in illegal immigrants who will use fake Social Security numbers, not be at jobs for longer than a year, by the time the government comes back and says to ABC Construction Company that that this gentleman is not a legal citizen, well, I'm sorry, he no longer works here. That's fine. We just kept all that Social Security money back in the till. We pay out no benefits. So there's also a thought of some nefarious tendency to really bring these people here to prop back up our economy, which, again, would be devastating because it will have the opposite effect. We're always taking calls, though, Chad, on the show. 702-257-5396. Get in on the conversation if you find something that you really feel passionate about. We want to hear from you here on the program. And our next headline, Chad, Central American leaders. We talk about Honduras, Guatemala, and the folks that are maybe going to get refugee status there. The Central American leaders, specifically the president of Honduras, blames the United States for this debacle right now.
Well, yeah, it's obviously, basically what they're saying is that we can't control our own borders, and this is what's incentivizing these coyotes, because these guys are making on average close to $50,000 a week bringing people across. Obviously, that's very lucrative, and they want to hold on to that, and other people get a piece of that pie. So from their perspective, they're saying, hey, we're washing our hands of this. It's up to you. And obviously, we've talked about this before. John Kerry, obviously what he's doing over in the Middle East is important, but he needs to be down there with Central American governments discussing this situation as well.
Well, absolutely. And as we talked to Alan Stock earlier in the week about, when it comes to border security, maybe we should take a page out of Israel's book and be a whole lot more concerned about our own border security before we start stepping out. With that being said, we're going to step aside, take another look at traffic here. It's 2:30. When we come back, Chad and I jumping into the sports carnival. Yep, NFL almost back.
Check out some of the familiar faces and voices of Vegas media. Sing, dance, and tickle your funny bone at the 17th Annual Advertising Community Talent Show, presented by Subaru of Las Vegas. Saturday, August 2nd, inside the Chrome Showroom at Santa Fe Station.
Excited to be here. Wow!
Tickets are only $25 for this night of great entertainment that will include a raffle and silent auction, with all proceeds going to benefit Safe Nest. Get your tickets at axlv.org. Come on out for a great night and a great cause.
Short on time? Get the Valley's best local news updates online anytime. KDWN Las Vegas, a Beasley Broadcast Group station.
AP Update, I'm Carlotta Bradley. We've been hearing about children dying after being left in hot cars. Now the government is stepping up efforts to warn people.
Where's baby? Look before you lock.
Where's baby? A new PSA from the government reminds people never leave a child unattended in a car, especially during the hotter summer months. So far this year, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration says 18 children have died from heat stroke. And they say more than half the time it's a parent or other caregiver who has forgotten the child in the car. I'm Julie Walker.
At a news conference launching the campaign, Reggie McKinnon talked about the terrible day he forgot his daughter in a hot car, saying he hopes talking about it will help prevent another tragedy.
I made a promise to my sweet Peyton Lynn that I would do everything I could to prevent this horror from happening to another innocent child.
AP Update, I'm Carlotta Bradley.
The news brought to you by MyCleanPC.com. If your computer is running slow, go to MyCleanPC.com and get a free computer diagnosis. In minutes, you can activate MyCleanPC software to clean out the junk that may be slowing down your computer. Increase your computer speed today with MyCleanPC.com. That's MyCleanPC.com.
It's 2:32 in the Kid on Nevada Credit Union Traffic Center. New incident on the Beltway, 215 southbound. That's north of Flamingo. 95 northbound. A couple of crashes there at Tropicana and north of Flamingo. The transition from 95 south to Interstate 15 southbound, very slow through there. And South 15 at Charleston has things backed up and slowed down to the Spaghetti Bowl. From the Kid on Nevada Credit Union Traffic Center, I'm Jim Dallas, on News Talk 720 KDWN.
With an advance pay short-term loan from One Nevada, you can get up to $1,000 for 2 weeks for less than other payday lenders. Plus, you'll get a $25 bonus just by mentioning this ad. Learn more at getadvancepay.com or call 702-457-1000. One Nevada is open to all Clark County and Pahrump residents. Federally insured by the NCUA, Equal Opportunity Lender.
Luxury shops in Las Vegas aren't new. What is new, however, is luxury meeting value. At the world-famous Max Pawn, we specialize in marrying the two. With some of the finest selections of watches, designer handbags, sunglasses, and more, the luxury never stops. Every day, new items are added in-store and online. From Gucci and Chanel to Hermes and Louis Vuitton, Max Pawn delivers all the top luxury brands at a fraction of the price. Visit us online at maxpawnlv.com or browse our showroom in Las Vegas. The world-famous Max Pawn, where luxury meets value.
The world is very different since Geico started saving people money over 75 years ago. This interweb thing? Not around. You wanted to know the answer to something? You just asked Old Man Russell. And if he didn't know, he made it up. That's why everyone in my town thought lightning bugs were filled with real lightning. Hey, we weren't always the sharpest tools in the shed, but we knew Geico was a smart deal.
Geico, saving people money on car insurance for over 75 years. Behind every great coach is a great and ever-evolving, game-changing playbook. That's why at Buffalo Wild Wings, we've created the B-Dub Sauce Lab. Here we're hard at work concocting, crafting, and innovating brand new mouth-watering flavors, from sweet to sizzling to downright scorching. Each sauce will be released one by one throughout the year, and they'll be anything but predictable, like any great playbook. Visit BuffaloWildWings.com/Sauce Lab to find out which limited-time sauce is in store now, because they won't be here forever.
Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports.
Well, hello. It is I, Don Francisco. This is my 247th commercial. And my 23rd cup of coffee. But this time I have switched blends from vanilla nut to Hawaiian blend. So join me on the Big Island for a rich cup of Mele Kaliki Java you've ever had. If you love coffee like I do, then you'll love Don Francisco's. And remember, if you're up all night, so are we.
And now, back to Live in Las Vegas with your hosts Dave Carney and Chad Forster.
And welcome back to Live in Las Vegas, brought to you by Don Francisco's, where if you're up all night,
so are we.
So are we. And, I think somebody was probably having some Don Francisco's, maybe Alan Stockwell. He was over there in Israel. And we're following breaking story here. Of course, Israel has rejected a proposed 7-day ceasefire. They are currently negotiating a 12-hour I guess I don't even know if we could call it a pause of conflict.
Time out.
So as this continues on throughout the day, if anything breaks, we'll let you know about it here on Live in Las Vegas. And again, thanks for joining us on a Friday afternoon. If you are not in your car, perhaps you're at your office, tuning in to us on KDWN.com, welcome very much there as well. Now, Chad, the news has been big, but as NFL season starts to ramp up and things happen here in town, I get my juices flowing. And I know that everybody's juices get flowing a little bit. Gambling starts. Let's jump in and talk about it in Sports Carnival.
Covering the sports stories that come from everywhere. It's time for the Sports Carnival with Chad and Dave.
All right, Chad, here we are. And that was a great sound effect. You did that yourself. That was actually your thumb out of the mouth. Yep, right there. Sports Carnival leading off. Looks like good guy of the NFL, Ray Rice, getting a two-game suspension. Roger Goodell handing out there for domestic violence charge he had with his now wife. It was his fiance at the time. And so, listen, let me get this straight. So if you smoke a joint or get caught naughtying up some young lady, you could be suspended for a year or indefinitely. If you punch out your wife, 2 games, slap on the wrist, no pun intended.
If dog fights, 2 years in prison.
That's 2 years in prison.
So,
yes.
Yeah, the NFL logic on punishment and how all this stuff works, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And then, the sad thing about domestic violence, obviously, a lot of times, and hopefully Ray Rice is getting help, and his new wife, they won't have problems. But, boy, I mean, she was fiance, gets in this altercation, and is pretty violent from all descriptions.
It was, you saw the video, right?
In the video, yeah. So she's, obviously he's an NFL guy, has lots of money. I can kind of see from her point of view, and maybe they have reconciled. But, boy, it seems a little weird. Only a two-game suspension. That seems to me at least half a season, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, you would think. But, I go back to this, and it's a former Baltimore Raven, and we'll talk about him here, and that, of course, was Ray Lewis. And he was a part of a murder investigation. I mean, had active knowledge of a murder being committed and was a party to that. And he's going to have a statue in front of the stadium in Baltimore. I mean, they're working on a statue right now for Ray Lewis.
Yeah,
they're working on a statue for him. How is that possible?
Well, I don't. That's a very good question, and I think it is the priority of the NFL. Obviously, they have a black mark on them as far as drugs are concerned and steroids and stuff. So that's really their crackdown and their emphasis. And clearly, when it comes to other violations, they're not quite as concerned, or at least not yet. And I think that the fact that this contrast is out there and a lot of people are talking about it, maybe things change a little bit when it comes to that. I mean, clearly they need to clean up the drug situation that's going on around the league and in all leagues, but there's also a lot of violence and shenanigans that go off the field. They're just as bad, if not worse.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that, ultimately those things that happen off the field that involve violence, especially against women and or children, are the ones that have the most impact socially. And right now, all over Twitter, I mean, there is a major campaign that is trying to get Ray Rice banned for the year. I mean, women across the country are rightfully so putting up a protest to this. And, similar situation, well, not similar, but, different as far as, what went down, but similar in how the NFL's handling it. You've got Jim Irsay, owner of the Colts, who's still not yet been punished publicly for his latest DUI, in which an NFL player would have to serve 4-game suspension. Where's the punishment there?
Well, it's lopsided like a lot of things are when it comes to rules and regulations, right? It depends on who you are, on how much punishment you actually receive, and that perception is out there for a reason because of situations like this. You're right. Jim Irsay clearly has a problem.
Yes.
And because he's an owner, doesn't get the same punishment as a player. Clearly, Justin Blackmon, who I think it was his third drug offense.
Yeah.
And obviously this last one was just a joint in the car or whatever. Clearly he has some issues as well and needs help. But, it'll be interesting to see how this all fleshes out. And then, of course, you've got Josh Gordon with some problems as well. But when you look at Ray Rice's situation, just 2 games doesn't seem to be justice.
No, it doesn't. And you would have to say, I mean, an amazing job PR-wise by both him and his fiance, now wife, to get this done, because they both sat down with Commissioner Roger Goodell. Anyways, going to be an interesting NFL season, though, because the Seattle Seahawks, the world champion NFL team, is going to be possibly, Chad, without their star running back, Marshawn Lynch, who's holding out of training camp now.
Yeah, he's holding out mainly because of the contract that was just signed by Jamal Charles, and it's one of these situations where he thinks he's as good, if not better, than Jamal Charles, and should get paid something comparable. So he has decided to hold out, and it's really kind of silly. And to be honest with you, if you're a running back in the NFL nowadays, you don't have as much leverage as you did 10, 15 years ago. Now, if you're a wide receiver or a quarterback and you hold out, you have a lot more power than you do as a running back, because let's face it, running backs are a dime a dozen. Now, when it comes to Marshawn Lynch, he's obviously made a name after kind of falling off in Buffalo and all that. But when he came to Seattle, he's really made a name for himself and clearly has a ring and put up really good numbers last year, I think 1,500 yards or whatever it was. But this isn't a good time to be doing this, especially when the Seahawks are on the doorstep to at least get back again, if not win another Super Bowl.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that a lot of people contributed a majority of their success to Marshawn Lynch. And I'll tell you one thing. The blocking schemes that the Seattle Seahawks contributed most to Marshawn Lynch. And at 29 years old, I would tell you to take the money, because he signed a 4-year, $30 million contract just 2 seasons ago. And this season, his salary is roughly $5.5 to $6 million, depending on specific terms outlined in the contract. And as you know, Chad, and we've talked about this before with other holdouts, you hold out a training camp, it's a $30,000 a day hit. Ray Rice, Marshawn Lynch will also possibly have to forfeit a large portion of his $6 million signing bonus that he got as well. So to me, financially,
it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
It's pride. It's pride. It's ego.
You know what? But that's too bad, because ego got in the way of a lot of great things and a lot of great people from achieving even better, because Russell Wilson will be the one that takes that team to continual Super Bowls. If that's the way it goes, it will not be based upon a running back. I can tell you that much.
As I said before, and you see it, if you play fantasy, you see it every year. There's always a guy, especially in the running back position, that comes out of nowhere, and it's easier to plug that hole than it is in other positions. It didn't used to be that way.
No.
It used to be that's the first guy, especially in fantasy, you lock up, you get first 2 picks are running backs, and if you're an NFL team, you have to have a run game. It's just not quite the same.
Well, no, and especially
you can do it by committee nowadays.
Exactly. I was going to say you've got 2 or 3 different running backs, everybody taking a couple of runs, and it can work out about the same. So we'll see what happens up there in Seattle. I'll tell you what, though, if Marshawn Lynch doesn't go to the Seattle Seahawks camp and doesn't start this year, we could see a big shakeup in the NFC West, and I think that San Francisco, even St. Louis, could be poised to take a big jump there. So that's a tough division to have to fall behind in, especially at a key position.
Well, when you just saw Marshawn Lynch holding out, but now you've got a guy like Andre Johnson to say that he was going to retire or quit. Now he's saying that he's going back to Houston. So I think the same thing's going to happen here with Marshawn Lynch. I think he'll end up giving in.
All right, well, let's talk about a couple of guys who probably will never kiss and make up. Mark McGuire and Jose Canseco. Chad, now
not pals anymore.
Not pals at all. And last week, Jose Canseco was up in Oakland for the celebration of the A's. It's the 25th anniversary of their World Series victory over the San Francisco Giants. That also happened to be, part of one of the largest earthquakes up there in Northern California, 89. And Jose Canseco speaking at the event, obviously McGuire couldn't be there. He's the Dodgers batting coach, was in St. Louis for a game, but he said to the crowd there that he wishes that it could be different. He wishes that he could apologize to Mark, that he knows what he did had hurt him. Mark McGuire, on the other hand, has absolutely no love lost for Jose Canseco, says, I don't care, it was wrong, I want nothing to do with him. Are you surprised that after all these years it hasn't changed?
No, not really. I mean, when that book came out that Jose Canseco put out, which was called Juiced and then had a longer title, he pretty much ratted on everybody, and nobody really likes the guy. Now, there has been some teammates like Dennis Eckersley that say, hey, you know, like you just said, it's been so many years, let's just forget about it. But Mark is not that kind of guy, because that pretty much put him on the map, and then, of course, besmirched his good name, and he's not appreciative of it, even though he's admitted that he took performance-enhancing drugs. So it doesn't surprise me. I don't think that'll ever be reconciled. And instead of the Bash Brothers, they're Trash Brothers, because they just trash talk each other.
And, you know, I can see Dennis Eckersley said, forgive and forget. Dennis Eckersley wasn't on anything except for chewing tobacco. I mean, that was
a nice mustache.
Well, he had a great mustache. The handlebars, I mean, well, wow. And what a pitch, huh? All right, guys, it's 2:45 here on Friday afternoon. We're going to step aside, take our final look at traffic of the day. Hopefully your drive isn't too bad. And when we come back, Chad is going to hook you up with your weekend and Entertainment Uncovered and our community calendar. Stay tuned.
From the Kid-On-One Nevada Credit Union Traffic Center, yes, you are tapping the brakes 95 southbound once you get to Martin Luther King. You're bumper to bumper through the Spaghetti Bowl. Also, as you transition from South 95 over to 15 southbound, very slow through that corridor. 95 north crashes at Tropicana and at Flamingo. 215 southbound, that's north of Flamingo. And a couple of hit and runs, Rainbow at Russell and Lamb at Owens. From the Kid-On-One Nevada Credit Union Traffic Center, I'm Jim Dallas on News Talk 720 KDWN.
I'm attorney Glenn Lerner. Did you know Metro is no longer responding to non-injury car wrecks? The problem is most people don't realize that they're hurt until days later. Even if you don't think you're hurt at the time of the wreck or don't have a police report, you are still entitled to medical treatment and the money you deserve for your injuries. Just because Metro doesn't show up to your wreck doesn't stop you from filing a claim. If the police don't show up, call us immediately for a free consultation and we'll advise you of your rights.
Glenn Lerner is the way to go. Call 877-1500.
Happy Friday. This is Chad Forster from KDWN 720's Pawn Talk Live in Las Vegas to give you today's Precious Metal Report, brought to you by Max Pawn of Las Vegas, located on the northeast corner of Sahara and Jones. Well, the roller coaster ride keeps on chugging along for gold as it began the week above 1,300 and has now dropped back below, while silver has kept its head above the $20 mark. Here's today's precious metal prices. Gold is at $12.98, silver is at $20.52, and platinum is at $14.68. Do you need extra cash this weekend? Visit Max Pawn to sell your unwanted gold, silver, platinum, coins, diamonds, watches, art, antiques, designer handbags, and more. For free phone estimates or questions, call 702-253-7296. That's 702-253-7296. Or check us out online at maxpawn.com. Max Pawn, where luxury meets value, open every day 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. on the corner of Sahara and Jones.
Attention men, are you one of the millions suffering from ED? Has Viagra or Cialis failed you? Are you suffering from low T or just wish you could last longer? New Male Medical Center can help you discover the new you. Their doctors offer state-of-the-art FDA-approved treatments that are 98% effective. You'll see results on your very first visit. Their treatments will work even when Viagra and Cialis have failed. Guaranteed. Call New Male Medical Center at 702-505-4414 today to schedule your no-obligation appointment. Calling now is the best decision you will ever make for your sexual health. Join the thousands of patients who are no longer suffering because they had the courage to call. 702-505-4414. That's 702-505-4414. New Male Medical Center. Discover the new you. 702-505-4414. That's 702-505-4414.
Can you imagine living in Las Vegas 70 years ago? Back when there was no such thing as air conditioning? I can't, which is probably why there weren't many folks who did live here. Luckily, it wasn't long before a little company introduced the first heating and air conditioning systems to the desert. Since 1954, Yes Air Conditioning has been servicing the valley, making our lives comfortable. We have one simple strategy. Get your system running and keep it running. Give yourself the peace of mind knowing the Yes Man can. Call 888-4937 or go online to theyesmancan.com. License 71246.
You've loved them on Fridays and missed them on Mondays. Not anymore. The boss just threw them 4 more days.
Yeah!
Live in Las Vegas with Dave and Chad kicks off your afternoon Monday through Friday from 2 to 3 here on News Talk 720 KDWN. And now back to Live in Las Vegas with your hosts Dave Carney and Chad Forster.
And welcome back to Live in Las Vegas here on News Talk 720 KDWN, brought to you by Stiffy Alice, where we can't help you be more attracted to your wife, but we can help you pretend for up to 3 hours at a time. I'm Dave. He's Chad. Thanks for making us part of your day here on a Friday afternoon. We got a whole bunch of fun stuff going on this weekend. And Chad, we're going to let you go ahead and break it all down. We're going to start off where? With our entertainment today?
Now, let's start off with the community calendar.
Let's do it.
Then we'll get into the entertainment. So what's going on this weekend as far as community calendar goes? The Gift of Two Hands is hosting a multicultural health awareness picnic. That is tomorrow starting at 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Lorenzi Park. This events launch free services to community, assisting with CPR training to families with less than $25,000 a year, and unemployed workers and retired seniors. Again, 11 a.m. to 4 at Lorenzi Park. How about this, Dave? Pill Take Back Day. I know you'll be participating in this. That's tomorrow from 7 in the morning till 11 a.m. Location, Sierra Vista High School. That's on Robindale. And this is in partnership with CARE Coalition, PACT Coalition, and the Clark County School District Police, where they're collecting, some unwanted drugs that you don't want to flush them down the toilet. Okay, so you can go and get rid of them the correct way. Again, tomorrow, 7 a.m. to 11 a.m., Sierra Vista High School. And in this one, I thought this was interesting. Pet Loss Bereavement Support Group is a real organization. So this Monday from 6:30 to 7:30 at the Community Lutheran Church over on Tropicana, East Tropicana, you can go there and find other people that obviously are bereaving their lost pet, and maybe have some friendship develop over that. Did you know that was such a thing?
I had no idea that was such a thing. But, it makes me think of a character we're going to hear from possibly next week, and there's a specific desert tortoise who has got some ideas about water safety. We'll talk about that later. All right, well, that's a really great list of community events. I really like that Gift of Two Hands. That could go really nice with Stiffy Alice. Right now, we're going to jump into some other fun stuff for adults in Entertainment Uncovered.
Be a lady tonight.
You've worked all week. Now it's time to hit the town. We'll tell you where in this edition of Entertainment Uncovered.
All right, Chad, Entertainment Uncovered Friday night here in Las Vegas. Always a fun place to be.
Man, there's all kinds of great stuff going on this weekend, man. You're going to love it. All right, check this out. Let's go music first. 80s flashback, Styx and Foreigner perform live inside the Orleans Arena tonight. That's tonight. Okay, so get your leather pants on and go over to the Orleans Arena tonight at 7 o'clock. Tickets that are available right now, so apparently the cheap tickets are sold, are $187.
Geez, I'm going to have to use my my lanyard and totally beg my way in if I want to see that, right?
Yeah, $187 for tickets, and then, of course, your leather pants are going to cost you $200. So you're almost $400 to go to that. How about the Voice Tour? That's tonight. I don't know what that is. I think it's a show of some kind. 7:30 inside the joint at the Hard Rock. I didn't get ticket prices on that. Not that it matters.
Listen, if you come, they're going to let you in. The Voice was a television show, and apparently these are the contestants who have obviously not made it famous enough to get off of the Voice Tour.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, now this is more my speed. If I wasn't going to go to Styx and Foreigner, which I can't afford $187 a ticket, how about this? Boston with special guest Cheap Trick performing live at the joint inside the Hard Rock tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Tickets only $49.50.
No, it's a good deal. It's a good deal to see Cheap Trick. First of all, I mean, Boston, I could take it or leave it, but Cheap Trick, really, really awesome band. One of my favorites.
I guess one of the American Idol's season 9 girls actually performs "Walk On" by Boston during this performance. It's one of their special guests. So if you're into that, there you go. How about this? A little rubber band man for you. The Spinners perform live at the club inside Cannery Casino. That's tomorrow night, showtime 8 o'clock. And this is great. Tickets only $14.95.
Beautiful.
Now, that's a great deal. And down the hallway, our buddies over at 1027 The Coyote present Lucy Hale of Pretty Little Liars fame. They're going to be doing an acoustic performance at Wet and Wild. That's Sunday, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. I'm not familiar with that either, to be honest with you.
What, you mean Pretty Little Liars?
I don't know what that is. Is that a TV show? Is that a movie?
I think it's a TV show.
Is that your ex-girlfriend? What is that?
Yeah, that's been all my ex-girlfriends. Pretty Little Liars.
All right, well, if you're not into music, how about a little comedy? Now, this guy, I know, I've actually interviewed this guy. Great guy, John Caparulo. He's performing Saturday and Sunday inside the South Point Showroom. Time 7 o'clock. Tickets $29. And Nick Swardson. Now, this guy, if you're not familiar, he was in Grandma's Boy.
Yeah.
Reno 911. Great comedian. He performs over at Terry Fader Theater. Showtime's at 10 o'clock. That's tonight and tomorrow night. Tickets about $80. And then, of course, we've mentioned this already, but the 51s start a 4-game series against the Salt Lake Bees. 51s currently in first place, Salt Lake Bees dead last. But this is to benefit Community Heroes Night United, benefiting the fund set up for the fallen officers Beck and Soldo, along with, of course, civilian Joseph Wilcox. Tickets $10 tonight for the game. $5 of that, each one of those tickets goes to that fund. Game time's at 7:05, and I do believe they have a ceremony right before that. So we want to get there a little early at Cashman. You're all set to go for the weekend.
Yeah, no, that's it sounds like a lot of fun too. And Chad, especially tonight when we talk baseball, in Vegas, it's tough to really think about a summer day, a summer night out at Cashman Field because, it doesn't exactly get the best coverage, from the blazing sun. But today's a perfect day to go down there, watch some baseball. You've got mostly cloudy skies. I don't think the sun's supposed to peek through for the rest of the day. And hopefully the weather really holds no rain so that tons of people can come out there to Cashman Field. And really, guys, get out there and support the fallen officers, Soldo and Beck, as well as, of course, the civilian Joseph Wilcox, who, again, perished in that horrible tragedy about a month ago.
And speaking of baseball, we mentioned at the beginning of the show, didn't mention it really in Sports Carnival, Greg Maddux, our very own Greg Maddux, getting into the Hall of Fame this weekend. I believe the ceremony, it's like all weekend long, but the actual induction ceremony is on Sunday. Of course, getting in with his teammate Tom Glavine, his coach Bobby Cox, Frank Thomas, a Big Hurt going in, and then Joe Torre and Tony La Russa.
Big Hurt was, growing up as a kid, he was my favorite baseball player because Frank Thomas was hitting 50 home runs a year in the time when nobody was hitting 50 home runs. I remember Cecil Fielder hit 50 home runs, and then it was years until Frank Thomas was able to string together a couple of consecutive 50 home run seasons. He batted, a really high percentage and did so for the majority of his career. Frank was one of these guys that never really fell off. And even in his DHing days, his career fortunately ended with a couple of runs to the World Series. He won a World Series with the Chicago White Sox and then was moved on to the Oakland Athletics and went to a World Series with them. Obviously, they didn't win, but I was really happy for Frank that he really was able to hang in there long enough, win that World Series ring to legitimize all of the great things he had done. And in an era where so much is consumed with steroids, he really stands out as a power hitter of all time.
Yeah, he was just an amazing, freakish athlete and didn't need steroids to compete.
Not at all.
Pretty impressive. And you mentioned White Sox. That's how he's going in as a White Sox.
As he should. He played, with only two, I believe it was two clubs. He played for the White Sox and the Athletics. The Athletics he played 2 seasons for at the end of his career, but obviously everybody knows the Big Hurt from the Sox. Now, Big Hurt's also got a really interesting malt beverage. If you're ever interested in a little sample of what Big Hurt might taste like, he's got Big Hurt beer, which you can find.
I did not know that.
Yes, I tried to get them to do something with us once at a time that we shall not mention, and they weren't ready for it yet. But the beer is actually kind of good. You can find it over at Lee's Discount Liquor, and it might be in a couple of other locations, but I know that Lee's does carry it. So support a Hall of Famer and buy some malt liquor.
Is it a Hall of Fame beer? Is it that good?
Well,
is it shaped like a baseball bat?
No, but
remember when Coors did that one time?
Yes,
during the summer.
I do.
During the summer, they did that where they did those baseball bat 22-ounce beers. And I actually bought them just because, sometimes packaging works.
Yes, it does.
I was like, dude, look at the baseball bat beers. I got to have one of those.
Well, plus, what we did after that is we were able to play, like swords with the, with the empty bottles. That's really what happens.
That's what you did. I shot them with my guns. That's what I did. But I have to tell you, the packaging does work. And it actually tastes better.
Really?
I swear to God, when you take it out of a baseball bat, it's like, wow, that's refreshing.
Well, listen, if you can get Coors
That's my favorite pastime.
If you can get Coors Light to taste good, I'm all for it. I don't care what you put it in. I've never really been able to find that one. Really fun show, though, today, guys. Hope you all have a great weekend out here. Stay safe and try to stay cool. Chad and I, we're going to take about a 49-hour break. We'll see you back here next Monday at 2 o'clock. News Talk 720 KDWN. Angie, Jim, have a great weekend.
Hiding crooked or missing teeth can affect your personal and professional life. Smile with confidence again with the help of AQ Denture. AQ stands for affordable quality, helping Southern Nevadans since 1975. Whether you need bridges, crowns, dental implants, or denture repair, AQ now offers the latest technology to create the best denture or implant fit. If you're having problems with your teeth and you don't know what to do, pick up the phone and call AQ. 702-565-6000. That's 702-565-6000.
Hi, this is Doug Basham. You know, the guy you just can't get enough of. Or is that the guy you just love to hate? In either case, join me every Saturday afternoon at 3 for something a bit different. That's Saturday afternoons at 3 p.m. See you then.
Dave Carney here for Pawn Talk Live with some really big news. Your favorite Friday call-in show, Pawn Talk Live, is moving to a new time, 1 p.m. Join myself, Max Pawns, Michael Mack, and Chad Forrester every Friday at 1. Find out what your treasures are worth, gold prices, and more here on News Talk 720 KDWN.
The KDWN award-winning morning news with John Schaefer. Weekdays from 5 to 9 a.m. Then AP News at the top and bottom of every hour throughout the day. Lock into News Talk 720 KDWN, where locals come to talk. Live in Las Vegas, it's Jerry Doyle.
It's Las Vegas' only nationally syndicated radio show.
Weekdays 3 to 6 on News Talk 720 KDWN, where locals come to talk. World, national, and the best local news